Hello and welcome back in to the Long Shot Podcast. I am your host, as always, Duncan Robinson, and I am joined by my good friend and co-host, Davis Patrick Reed. Davis, how are we?
I am so good, Duncan. I'm so good. You know why? Because they brought us back for year 2 of the Long Shot Awards. We were worried. Maybe last year wasn't going to be a smash of a success, but it was. And we weren't that surprised. So they brought us back for year 2. We're just happy to be here.
No, it truly is a very special time of the year. This is an episode I always look forward to. Like you said, year 2, the inaugural campaign went well, but we're excited to come back for year 2 with a real bang. And we're doing so in fun fashion. We have a guest. I don't even know if you can call him a guest because he's been basically on every single one of our podcasts, but
Correct.
We're incorporating him into this episode, into these awards, I should say, in a very fun and just interesting way. And that's our producer, Harry Krinsky. Harry, welcome. It feels weird saying welcome to the Long Shot Podcast because you've been a part of it the whole time, but my gosh, it's great to have you here.
Listen, it's an honor to be on this side of the mic. I'm excited to have my nominees be considered by the Long Shot fans, and we'll see what I can bring. I'm trying to bring something. I'm hoping that I didn't pick nominees that you guys picked, so I went a little weird. So
I love it. I love it. Weird and wacky is an undertone of this entire show. So basically some housekeeping stuff. I'm going to break down some ground rules. So we're each going to nominate one player for each award. And then the listeners, the most important members of our community, will then proceed to vote on the candidates that we nominate. So we're merely just kind of throwing names into a hat, and it's really you guys who are driving the conversation and the winners here. No Heat players are allowed. This was something that we kicked around for a while, but we decided for a variety of reasons, mostly because we have a lot of Heat listeners, and we figured that just every Heat player would win every award. And also it's hard for me to remove myself. Like, I have so many biases towards Heat players that I just can't be nominating Heat players for every single award. That just doesn't seem fair. Not to mention, I will say though, if Heat players were allowed to be nominated for some of these, we would have some fantastic winners from the Heat. And then last, basically, we're just going to rotate who picks first each round, so we get a little creativity, mixing up the rhythm and cadence of everything. How's that sound, Dave?
Sounds great. Yeah, you broke that down beautifully. Also, for the audio listeners, the YouTube viewers probably noticed this off the bat, but for the audio listeners, there was a dress code for this award show that 2 of the 3 members on this call adhered to. The third person is just in a t-shirt, and I'll let you guess who that is. But for the YouTube viewers, you're welcome. Also, please notice the tie around my neck. I didn't feel like putting a dress shirt on, but you can't wear an award show suit without a tie. So I just wanted to point that out real quick.
Well, I'd actually like to say, first off, this is not just a t-shirt. This is a Cuts t-shirt, the finest material in all the land. 1. 2, this is actually a cool opportunity to do like a little award show red carpet moment. So let me ask you guys, I'll start with you, Harry. What are you wearing this evening?
I'm glad you asked. I've got a little J. Crew.
Nice.
White button down. I got actually, oh shit. This is actually embarrassing. I think I'm wearing all. I got a little knit tie action. I don't remember the brand. And then a suit. The suit is Prada.
There you go. Prada. Way to mix it in there. Dave, what do you got?
So I'm, again, so glad you asked. I've got the Apple AirPod Pros. Thank you very much. Wedding band is from Amazon. I got a package of 7 for $4.99. The jacket was a gift from my father. I do not know the brand. It was a graduation gift. Fits me perfectly. It's a beautiful blue gray, if you will, or blue silver. Tie is probably, let's see if we can see a brand on here. Oh my goodness, it's a name I can't pronounce. That probably means it's expensive. And the T-shirt is Banana Republic, but let's cut that
Nice.
and say that it's also something really, really nice.
Chanel. Yeah, it looks like Chanel.
Yeah.
The thread count that I'm gathering via Zoom here is I'm picking up Chanel. All right. Well, that was good. I mean, missed photo opportunities. Would love to, maybe in the future, actually, that would be a cool thing for a live show. If we did like an actual long shot award ceremony, we did a red carpet, laid it out, the whole thing. It's maybe something you could jot down for future notes. I don't know.
Yeah, keep in mind this is only year 2.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2040 and we're going to be in the, 38th annual. This thing's just getting off the ground.
100%. I'd love to see what the Grammys or the Oscars look like
Right.
in year 2. Not to mention the Oscars, had a certain level of fanfare and excitement. I don't know if you can anticipate that sort of viral moment in this award ceremony. I hope that we can capture something similar, maybe not quite as physical, but nonetheless, I still think it's worth sticking around for.
Yeah, you actually, I'll let the fans in on a little secret. You had a pretty spicy opening monologue that you were going to try, but after I was with you actually when the Oscars thing went down in Miami, and after we saw that, we just collectively decided maybe we should nix it. We don't want to ruffle any feathers.
Yeah, just go in a different direction. Honestly, what we kind of collectively, the three of us, came to is that it really takes away from the candidates, the potential award winners, this is what the show is all about. It's not about us. I mean, you guys showed up in suits and ties and stuff, kind of making it seem like it might be about you. But, rest assured, it's not at all about us. Instead, this is an opportunity for us to use our platform to shine light on a lot of underdogs, a lot of long shots who haven't gotten the recognition that they deserve. And that's what the Long Shot Podcast is all about, is giving people the stage, the platform, the flowers that they deserve. And that's an unbelievable segue, Davis, to our first award of the evening, which is actually a favorite of yours. I'm not a huge fan of this one, but it's the Flowers Award. Do you want to explain a little bit about the Flowers Award?
Absolutely. I mean, it's for everything you just said. This is what the show really is about. It's giving flowers to guys who had, underappreciated seasons. Last year, I'll remind you, our winner was Nerlens Noel, who had a great season for the Knicks, was a menace defensively. And so this is our Flowers Award. I think it's a beautiful way to kick things off. Do we want to, I think what we should do is we'll select an order here that we pick in, and then we'll just sort of rotate that order down the ladder. I think it would be wrong if we didn't let our guest go first. So Harry, how about you pick first your nominee for the Flowers Award?
Sure. So I am a Warriors fan, and I think most of the way I watch basketball is through the prism of who plays well against Warriors, who is on the Warriors, all that stuff. So with that in mind, somebody who killed the Warriors every time we played them was Isaiah Hartenstein. I had never heard of him before the first. I think he must have started at center the first time he played against the Warriors, and he is so good. He's like this weird. He can switch out on guards. He can kind of do the point center passes, dribble handoffs, all that stuff. He's not, he's not really filling it up from a stat perspective, but he is just a solid center that, again, like came out of nowhere for me.
No,
what a pick.
So he's my Flowers.
That's a great Flowers Award selection. Real lunch pail guy. Funny story about Isaiah Hartenstein, actually. So my roommate in college was Moritz Wagner, another German basketball player. And I don't know if you knew this, Harry, but Isaiah Hartenstein was basically the German Jordan there for a little bit, outside of Dirk Nowitzki. But he was like the next coming. He was supposed to be the next big thing out of Germany. And obviously he's carved out a nice little career for himself. And maybe, one of his finest accolades has been being nominated for the Flowers Award by yours truly, Harry Krinsky. But that's a great pick. I love that one. Dave, why don't you go second here?
Harry, amazing pick. Actually, not to foreshadow, but his name might be coming up later down the line too. I don't know, Duncan. I don't think last year we had any 2-time nominees for 2 different awards.
That's
So
special.
maybe we'll go in a different direction, but yeah, that was a good one. Okay, I'm a little torn here, but I think I'm gonna go Steven Adams, Duncan and Harry. I think I'm gonna go Steven Adams because for a couple reasons. One, I'll admit my bias. I just love him very much. Uh, the Grizzlies have just been amazing this year. It's well documented how good they've been without Jaw, and so I think that their like supporting cast in general gets some credit. But Steven Adams has been awesome. He has a career high in rebounds this year, career high in assists. The Grizzlies are leading the league in rebounding. And if you watch games, it's because it takes like 7 guys. They bring 2 guys off the bench to help box out Steven Adams. And so he does so much for them, and he's the man. And Duncan's talked about it on this podcast. He's the strongest guy in the league, which just makes him infinitely cooler. I'm going Steven Adams.
It's a great selection, Dave. And, that's a guy who has a little bit more career accolades than Isaiah Hartenstein, but I still think being nominated for this award by you specifically will certainly mean a lot to him. I also loved, there was a recent, like, I don't know what you call it, a meme maybe, of somebody on the Grizzlies was in a press conference and was like, yeah, rebounding is a science to Steven Adams. Like, he's like always reading positioning and all this sort of stuff. And somebody asked Steven Adams and he goes, I just stand there, mate. he's like, I'm like, when you're 300 pounds, 7 feet, it's just like, you just got to stand there and the ball just finds a way to come to you. But that's an all-time one. And, well deserved from Steven to get that nod because he definitely has had a great year. And the Grizzlies have had a great year and he's been a huge part of it. Love that selection. I'm going to take it a different direction. You guys did 2 big men. I'm going to go to a guard that has been just disgustingly overlooked this year, in my opinion. Somebody who's a well-established guard in the league, but this year has taken his game to a new level. And I just don't think he's been given his flowers by the media. And that's why, ourselves, not mainstream media, I feel like I have actually a moral responsibility to do so. And that's DeJounte Murray. Career highs in points, rebounds, assists, 21, 9, and 8 is his 21, 9, and 8 is his line. Highest field goal percentage of his career, 2 steals per game. He does it on both ends. And I honestly think he's been one of the best guards in the league this year. He was an all-star, but I think this also points to the fact that he actually wasn't originally an all-star, but had to get in because of injury exemption. And that alone just speaks to the fact that he hasn't been getting the flowers he deserves. If somebody else with a different name had put up 21, 9, and 8 and done it the way he's done it, they would for sure be an all-star. So I got DeJounte. I think he's been great all year. And not to mention, he's catapulted the Spurs into play-in contention, potentially a playoff team. I just feel like he deserves some flowers. I really do.
No, that's beautiful. I also think it's great that we sort of selected 3 players at varying levels. Isaiah Hartenstein, sort of still making his name in the league. Steven Adams, established guy, but not like a perennial all-star. DeJounte Murray has sort of ascended himself into that conversation where he's at that range now. So a reminder to the fans, to the listeners, this isn't the best player of these 3, but this is the guy who needs his flowers the most.
Yeah, that's an important distinction. I do actually like the Flowers Award. I think it embodies so much of what this podcast is all about. But all right, let's transition to award number 2 of the evening, which is another fun one. And that's the Thrift Store Find of the Year. I feel like this one is great also for the pod, mostly because you're from Kansas, and I've also found that Kansas City is the thrift store capital of the world. So you've been pretty bullish on having the Thrift Store Find of the Year award, and I now know why. It's because of your lineage. It's because of your roots.
This is back-to-back years. So you're now 2 for 2 in pointing out that Kansas is the thrift store capital of the world, which just can't be true. I've never heard that in my life. Growing up there, that's never been a thing.
I learned that from you. You told me that. Or your sister told me that. Because your sister was making a business of repurposing thrift store finds.
That's
so I
true.
thought that was like a well-known thing. She got me this really cool denim jacket, which she redesigned and put some cool stuff on.
Shout out to Species Speak. Yes, shout out to my sister. But I don't think that's right. I think you maybe dreamt this and you've now brought it up 2 years in a row. Regardless, Thrift Store Find of the Year, another one of my favorites. Last year, this went to Daniel Gafford, who went to Washington and just exploded, had an awesome second half of his season there. This is a guy who is in a new situation this year. So whether that was via trade or offseason signing, and has outperformed his contract. The thrift store find of the year. So Harry went first last round. I went second. I'm now going to go first, and then we'll pass to you, Dunk. I'm going to go with Andre Drummond. I think I'm going to go with Andre Drummond. He seemed like a guy who was sort of just added last minute to the massive Ben Simmons, James Harden trade. Seemed like a little bit more of an auxiliary piece. He's averaging 12 and 10, double since coming to Brooklyn. He is they have no size. They have no size in Brooklyn. So I just think that was a overlooked move that I think really could help Brooklyn. You know, they're now in the play-in game, so who knows if they're even going to make the playoffs. But in order for them to do so, they're going to need to have some size. And so Andre Drummond, you are my thrift store find of the year.
I like the Andre Drummond pick. That reminds me of almost like some designer clothing that somehow ended up in a thrift store because he's a former all-star, like a max guy who's now a thrift store find, which is always a fun one.
Exactly.
He also is incredibly talented. Can almost seemingly like sleepwalk his way to a double-double. But you're absolutely right. He will be a huge part of Brooklyn if they're able to put some things together for the playoffs. All right, I'm going to take it a different direction. I'm going to go on the other coast. The City of Angels, Malik Monk, I thought was a fantastic thrift store find for the Los Angeles Lakers. I know LA did not have the season that many anticipated or many hoped, but I will say he was a bright spot for them for sure. His stats being 13, 3, and 3, which doesn't really jump out at you, but they jumped to 17, 4, and 3 when he starts. So it's clear when you give him that role, allow him to play through mistakes, have some usage, that he takes his game to another level. And for a little stretch there with all the injuries they had, he was like, obviously outside of LeBron, but like he was carrying them from a scoring perspective. And he was kind of like the lone bright spot. So that's my nomination, Malik Monk.
And how great for you guys selfishly in Miami that he went to the Western Conference, because he was a certified heat killer. That guy,
it was.
He was always a good player, always a talented scorer, but I don't know maybe it was the friendship with Bam. I don't know what it was. Every time you guys played Charlotte, it felt like he was going for 30 plus.
No, he had several career nights against us. That's certainly not lost on me. So yeah, you're right. It is great to have him in the West Coast. Harry, what do you got?
Well, I want to talk about the thrift store debacle for a second, because I crunched some. I did a little research while you guys were talking. So, according to this website that I found, top 5: Long Beach, California; Oakland, California; Atlanta, Georgia; Miami; and then, though, Duncan, here's a little saving grace: Kansas City, Missouri.
Really?
Wow.
See, I'm surprised it's even top 5.
That's kind of my point, is that those other are like major metropolitan areas. So right. it would be weird to describe Miami as the thrift store capital of the world. It's like, no, it's Miami. There's so many defining characteristics of Miami. But if you're Kansas City, whether it be Missouri or Kansas, that I feel like would be your saving grace. That would be your defining characteristic, that you are known for thrift stores.
And this is maybe the wrong crowd, but Miami has got to have the worst thrift stores I could ever. I'm just imagining the clothes that people down there throw out.
That's very true.
That is very true. That's very true.
So I don't know about this.
So I don't know where I pulled that from. Then I have no idea. I mean, clearly there's some legitimacy to it. So maybe I read it somewhere, and for whatever reason, just hung on to it for dear life.
I'll tell you what, man. Anytime that, speaking of flowers, anytime my city gets some flowers, I'm all in for it. So if you want to stamp us with thrift store capital of the world, I will gladly accept it. I'm just shocked. I'm shocked, but I'm honored.
Beautiful. Well, my thrift store find is, I don't know if this exactly follows it, but I think it does. Seth Curry.
Yep, that's a good one.
It's a good one.
He was 32 for 4 years, 32 mil for 4 years, which is like a bargain. And especially when he was on Philly, he was like second, third most important player on that team. Like unlocked Embiid, or I mean, I don't know, unlocked Embiid, but had a really nice 2-man game with Embiid, and was just so consistent for that team that desperately needed it.
I like
it's a good pick.
We both went with auxiliary pieces in that trade, Harry. I agree. I agree. And actually, Seth was a name that I was considering for this award as well. So that's a good pick. And I'm a little upset by it because what you're going to do is you're going to take some of my voters for my nominee because I think that the auxiliary piece of the Brooklyn trade kind of adds to the thrift store find story here.
Yeah.
I think it's
No, I'm on your corner.
I think it's borderline disrespectful to call either Seth Curry or Andre Drummond an auxiliary piece.
No, but that's what they seemed
Seth
like.
Curry. But I feel like he was like almost, the way it was portrayed and talked about in the media, he was almost like a focal point in that whether or not the trade went down was relying on the fact of whether or not Philly would be willing or not willing to put him in it. So I don't know how I feel about you calling them auxiliary pieces, but that's all right.
So what you're doing, actually, what you just did is you said that my pick in that trade, Andre Drummond, was a better pick than Harry's. Is what you're saying?
I'm not saying anything. I'm going to leave that up to the fans, the community to vote on that. This is a democratic process. I'm not here to, tarnish or taint that in any sort of way. I want this to be a level playing field for all. And I think that we've all nominated 3 worthwhile candidates, and let's see where the chips fall on that.
Fine, fair enough.
All right, what's the next one, Dave?
Next award is the Ice Water Award. The guy you want taking the last shot. But let's keep in mind here, this is a yearly award show. So this isn't based on like career history. This isn't based on best player in the league in your opinion right now. No, this is the guy who has shown you that he is ready to perform in clutch time this season. Last year, this went to Luka. Luka had a couple game winners, a couple buzzer beaters. I believe, Duncan, you are leading this one off.
Yeah, I am, and I'm happy that I am, because I know that my nomination is going to win, because any other nomination or winner here would just be wrong, quite honestly. And that's DeMar DeRozan, formerly or known to many as Debo. The other Debo, probably the more well-known Debo, I should probably clarify. But yeah, I mean, it's got to be DeMar. He's had an incredible season just from a clutch perspective. I got some stats here. Actually, Dave crunched some of these numbers, so thanks for that. He's leading the NBA in clutch time field goals, and he's shooting a better percentage down the stretch than anyone else. So, I mean, I think that alone. And he also has the optics. He had the back-to-back game winners. One of them was like a horse shot or a 21 shot. The runner off the one leg. That was incredible. I believe that was an Indy. And he had another one the next night. So, or maybe the Indy was the second night. I don't remember. But anyways, the answer is DeMar, and anyone else is probably wrong.
It's a good pick. But there might be some sleepers. This could be upset alert. You never know. Harry, what do you got?
I'm going again. I'll just say it. I'm going Chris Paul.
Yep. And
not exactly because of the shots he takes, but the shots that he gets the Suns down the stretch. They have, I remember seeing on some broadcast that they have like the best fourth quarter, last 5 minutes scoring margin of any team. They just kill teams in the last 4 minutes. And I think it's because Chris just gets the right shot every possession in the fourth.
That's a good, it's a really good pick. And you're absolutely right. Their record is largely what it is because of their performance down the stretch of games. And I think the clutch time, like the statistical clutch, which I think is within 5 points, under 4 minutes or under 5 minutes, can be a little misleading. But it definitely does tell a story there that he's just been so good down the stretch. And as a result, they as a team have been so good down the stretch.
All right, let me make my case. I'm going Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Now, I don't know if you remember Dunk, but he hit a game winner this year, buzzer beater, from like 30 plus feet against his old team, the Clippers. And he broke out into that dance right afterwards. And it came out that he said earlier in the season to one of his teammates, he was going to hit that dance whenever he hit a game winner. So to just have that mental fortitude of like, not just seeing the future, but just committing it to fact. Hey, I'm going to hit a game winner and then I'm going to break out in this dance, and then to do it is just, that takes something special within you. He also, I don't want, again, this is the second time I'm going to foreshadow this episode. We're going to get to this shot later, but he also hit what should have been a game winner against the Pelicans, another like 35 footer, off balance. It ended up not being a game winner for reasons we'll get to. But to hit two of those shots, to commit the dance to fact in the future, I just think it puts you in the running.
I think it's a quality campaign that you're building over there. I think SGA is incredible. I think he's a great player. And I'm not trying to throw any shade at him whatsoever, but I do think there is something to be said about the fact that his team is not really in overall contention.
Okay, so that's not his fault.
I'm not saying that it is, but it changes the magnitude, I think, of some of these games because you're just able to play more freely, because quite honestly, the outcome matters less than somebody like DeMar or even somebody like CP, who's vying to be a contender. So I think there's a little, I just want to just point that out. I'm not, once again, I'm not throwing any shade. I think he's fantastic. I think he is clutch. I think he's earned the right to be in the conversation, but I just want to throw that out as a little caveat.
Duncan, the Thunder are trying to build a foundation in Oklahoma City, okay? Every win matters. The fact that you would poo-poo an NBA win is just disgraceful.
I'm not poo-pooing an NBA win. I will say, though, they do have something special going with OKC, especially with the recent signing of Xavier Simpson, a.k.a. Captain Hook himself.
Yes.
Loved to see it. Former teammate and not former good friend of mine, still a really good friend of mine. So shout out to Xavier Simpson, Captain Hook, for the running hook. And, yeah, he got his 10-day in OKC. If they knew what they were doing in that front office, they'd keep him around. I'm just saying.
All right, fine.
Dave, we're back, and I am excited to talk some more about Athletic Greens. It is a morning staple for me. Every single morning, I wake up, first thing I do, pour myself some Athletic Greens. The nutritional value is through the roof, insane for energy, gut health, multivitamin. It basically takes place of anything you would need to take in the morning, like a vitamin or fish oil or all that sort of stuff. It's got everything you need. And it tastes good. It's a great way to start your morning. And it's just officially cemented itself in my morning routine.
Dunk, I couldn't agree more. I've been looking around for something that serves this purpose, but most stuff has a lot of sugar. And I'm really trying to cut sugar out of my life. AG1 has less than a gram of sugar. It's lifestyle friendly. So whether you're keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, gluten-free, it's got what you need. No GMOs, no nasty chemicals. I'm telling you, man, a scoop in water to start my days. I've never felt better.
It's also fantastic for your immune system. I know we're kind of finishing up cold and flu season, but it really is great for fighting off that stuff. I take it in the morning with some cold water, maybe squeeze a little lemon in there as well, just to add to the taste just a little bit. But the taste is really good as is. And check this out. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs. With your first purchase. The travel packs are super convenient. I take them on the road. They're just little packs you can throw in your backpack, purse, whatever you got, and just take them on the go. It's fantastic stuff. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/longshot. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/longshot to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Next award, let's go to Another one that's really just a staple of what we do here at the Long Shot Podcast. This is the Undrafted Player of the Year. Pretty simple, Dunk. The undrafted guy who had the best season. Last year it was Fred VanVleet. This year I think it maybe could be Fred VanVleet again, but we'll see.
Should we make Fred exempt because he won last year? I mean, like, is he just going to win it every year? I mean,
depends. It depends. Maybe there's another undrafted guy who will have a better year, and who knows? Maybe we'll make an argument for a guy who deserves it this year. But look, could this be our first 2-time winner? Maybe Fred became the first undrafted All-Star in like 20 years this year. Yeah, it could be, but we'll see. We'll let the panel decide.
This is Harry first, right?
Yeah.
And I'm also glad I'm going first because I really have an argument I want to make.
Oh.
I'm going to list some guys. They're not the undrafted players. Devin Booker. De'Aaron Fox. Maybe LeBron James. Okay. DeMar DeRozan. There's one guy who clamped all of these guys.
Whoa.
I like where this is going.
Gary Payton II.
Ooh.
That dude, he's a warrior. He was, I remember we were choosing between him and Avery Bradley, the last pick, for like the last spot on the roster. And we went with him, and I was like, who is this guy? Right. He went on to clamp every single good guard in the league. Like, he picks up anybody full court and honestly guards them really, really well. He's so strong. He's so, like, he gets in people. He's like the only guy I've seen pick up somebody full court in like game 48 of the season. It's like amazing. So, and I mean the dunks, like he's nasty. So he's shortest center in the league. He's my pick.
I love it so much. That's amazing. No, that's amazing. Thank you for making that argument. Dunk, technically I am next, but I think, as we alluded to, Freddie VanVleet needs to be a nominee here. So would you rather make an argument for someone else, or do you want me to make an argument for someone else?
You make an argument for someone else.
Okay. I'm going to go with friend of the pod and friend of me, because he's been on the pod, Alex Caruso. Alex Caruso, averaging, his stats might not pop to you. He's averaging 8, 4, and 4 this year, but career highs in assists, rebounds, and steals. The Lakers let him leave, and you saw what that did to them defensively. He just adds so much to the Bulls. They are so much better with him. I looked up their record with and without him. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it's much better when he plays, and it's evident when you just watch. And that guy, he's just a winner. He's a winner. He got his big contract this summer, which we love to see from the undrafted guy. So I think it would be ignorant of us to not consider him for this award.
2 great nominations. I'd like to point out, so Dave sends me notes before every episode, just kind of like a little cheat sheet of what we're doing. And like basically like ones that he's going to potentially talk about. And he has Alex Caruso under this award. And he goes, just adds so much to the Bulls statistically, comma. And you would expect maybe that he would have some stats to back it or whatever. And he just says they are much better with him. And it's just totally subjective. There's no, like, it's just like, trust me. All right. Eye test. I've watched a lot of Bulls basketball this year. Dave is just putting his stamp of approval on Alex
in over
Caruso.
here, dude. I'm locked in.
I just, given how thorough you are as an individual, I just would have thought that there would maybe be some like in the lineup, out of the lineup, splits or something that you can kind of point to, and you just went straight eye test, which I'm into. I mean, I love it.
Yeah, 100%. What's funny is I actually did have some of those ready to go. Like I said, I had some of the on off, like him playing, him not playing. But yeah, that's not what we're here to do. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to give our flowers, eye test, baby. And Alex Caruso passes that eye test.
No, that's great. I love both of your selections because they really do embrace the heart and spirit of the undrafted player. which is basically like those are two guys that are just going to do whatever it takes to get on the floor to help you win. And you really can't encapsulate the value that they bring into statistics because they're doing so much more than scoring, passing, rebounding, whatever it is. They're filling in the gaps. So I really do. I appreciate both of your nominations. I just don't think that they stand a chance. Like I said, Fred is undrafted, an all-star, has led his team locked into the playoffs. Franchise record in threes. I mean, the accolades go on and on. 20 points, 5 rebounds, 7 assists, and a team that so many people thought had no playoff chances, he's led them to. Spicy P has also been a big part of that as well. But Fred, I think you'd be hard pressed to find somebody who didn't think that Fred was the heart and soul of that group. So that's my nomination, Fred VanVleet.
Yep, that's a good one. That's a good one. We'll let the fans decide. I don't know. I think we had 3 compelling arguments.
Yeah, I mean, it's ultimately on the community to see where the chips fall. All right, our next one is the long shot of the year, which is just a great award. Ties in beautifully to this podcast, and it's all about basically the guy that overcame the odds. I think last year our selection was Karis LeVert after getting traded and having different health complications. It was kind of up in the air, let alone if he was going to play again, but if he was going to be, healthy enough to kind of move forward. And obviously we've seen him play really well, continue to speak to the long shot narrative in Cleveland. But this year we got a lot of great options. I'm really curious to see where the conversation goes here. I think, Dave, you're leading us off.
Yes, I'm going to lead us off. And I'm sorry, Harry, but this might have been your pick. I got to go to Golden State. Klay Thompson. The guy is just, here's another eye test guy. I'm just, without a doubt, a happier human being when I get to watch Klay Thompson play basketball. So for him to return from his 2-year absence, guy tore his ACL on his left knee and then his Achilles in his right foot. Like he's just was banged up, wasn't certain what he was going to look like, but he's back and he's awesome. First game back, he dunks on somebody in Cleveland. Had the 38 point or whatever it was game the other day. He's rocking the little semi-pro fro. He's warming up before the game with Jackie Moon. I mean, it's just basketball is a better place with him back.
Yeah, no, it's a great selection, and I think it does tie into the narrative that we've kind of built into this award, which is dealing with adversity and bouncing back from said adversity. This would be a great opportunity to pick a friend and teammate of mine, Victor Oladipo, former guest on the show. Obviously, we are not allowed to select Heat players. Otherwise, I think he'd be surefire to win it. So I'm actually going to take it a different direction. And I think I'm allowed to choose him, even though at one point he was a member of the Heat. And that's Nick Stauskas. We talked a little bit about his story on the pod, but was obviously out of the NBA. He was playing in Europe. And this was really his last go rounds. He was playing in the G League and got a 10-day with us, went back to the G League. And in talking to him when he was with us, it really seemed, first off, obviously it was abundantly clear how much he had put into this. But it's been such an interesting insight into his career because he was a lottery pick and bounced around the NBA, had all these different NBA experiences. And then all of a sudden he was one of those guys that found himself on the outside looking in, which is such a challenging place to be because, he knows he's good enough to play in the NBA and hasn't maybe had the situation or the opportunity to really prove that. But to see that arc come full circle and him get another opportunity with the Celtics after going on a crazy tear in Grand Rapids in the G League, it was just awesome to see. So in that sense, I think so many people, whether it be fans, teams, members of the media, not us, of course, because we don't fall into that category, had written him off and counted him out. Nick's career is done. He'll never play in the NBA again. And just to see him back in the NBA playing with the Celtics is a feel-good story. And I think it's perfectly in line with this award and everything it stands for.
I agree.
I am going to go. I also agree. I love Nick Stauskas. I think Nick was my same year at Michigan, so I think I watched him play every year I was there. That he was there. I'm going. This is not a person, but I'm going with the entire Cleveland Cavaliers.
Ooh.
Love
I
that.
think just the from going 3 centers to being in Cleveland to the post LeBron fought, like what all the all that does when you're kind of really going full championship mode with LeBron on your team. For them to put together probably the weirdest successful team in the NBA. They've got 2 little guards and then 3 giant centers, at least when they're healthy to start the year. That's what they look like. The success they've had, it's always fun when a small market's really successful. And yeah, they've just I certainly did not have them in the playoff picture to start the year.
That's a great
pick.
nomination. I love the creativity too. We were all thinking of players and you just decided to come up with a team. It's interesting because I really do like the play-in. I think it adds a really interesting dynamic to particularly these last couple games of the year, because you're looking at the seeding and how everything's going to play out. And all of a sudden you're looking at a team like Brooklyn, who's so talented, but they might need to win 2 games in a row on the road to ultimately make the playoffs. But there is a downside to it, to a team like Cleveland, where you got to think that they've earned a playoff spot. And there's a legit scenario where they don't make the playoffs, which is crazy to think because they've been so good all year. It's just, there's so much good that comes with the play-in, but that is definitely one of the downsides for sure.
Yeah, I agree. All right, that wraps up our 5 awards from last year. So now we're going to try a few new ones. I don't know. We're just going to see. We're going to see how it goes. We'll consider those previous 5 like our staple awards. We're going to experiment a little bit. So the first one that we're trying here is the word of the year in the NBA. Now, the beauty of an award like this is it's pretty broad, guys. I think you can really argue your case for why you think your word is the word of the year. I believe, Dunk, are you going first? I lost track of the order.
I'm up first, and I'm happy I'm going first because I have a feeling that somebody would take mine. And if somebody did take mine, I would have no idea what direction to take this in. And mine's kind of 2 words. It's more a phrase.
You got to pick a word, I think.
I'm just gonna throw it out there. It's if I had to be a single word, it would be protocols, but it's the all-encompassing health and safety protocols. So it's protocols in the context of health and safety protocols, and that's just that, particularly in that stretch around the holidays and the new year. Every single day, it was just something new. Somebody new was in health and safety protocols. There were new protocols. The league was coming out with this protocol, that protocol. We had our practice protocols, our game protocols, our COVID protocols, our coming back from COVID protocols. There were just so many protocols. So that's my word, is protocols.
Can you say protocols one more time?
Protocols.
It's getting to the point where it's like starting to lose meaning. I'm just hearing the syllables.
Right. Yeah. But that's my take. I think it's a good one too.
Decent pick.
So I think I'm next.
Yes.
I want to give a little bit of backstory about how we came to the word of the year, because actually I think Haley O'Shaughnessy, who is the works on Spencer's, the pod I produce in addition to this one, she actually planted the seed, and it's funny because she thought of it, Duncan, when you were on a pod a couple weeks ago and you said facetious. And Haley was like, Duncan's always using these words. Like, we should do a word of the year or something. So shout out to Haley, and Duncan, shout out to you for always bringing the big words.
Shout out to facetious as well.
Yeah,
It's a great word.
With all of that being said, my word is center. Because we've got these two centers who may come in first and second in MVP voting with Jokic and Embiid. But then we also, I think, there's a larger conversation going on about what it means to be a center in the NBA right now. There's like Giannis. People say Giannis plays like a center. Are you a center if you're above 6'11" and 6'9" and can't hit threes? Like, does that mean you're a center? Are you a center if you're the tallest, biggest guy? Is Kevin Durant a center if he's the only 7-footer on the court? So I do think I think we're all kind of grappling with what this means. I will say there's a big trend in kind of positionless basketball, right? Everybody loves to talk about how there are not positions. I'm going to go the other way and say there are positions. If you're a giant guy who guards the rim, you're a center. Doesn't matter if you also shoot threes or also pass the ball or also can, stretch the floor or any of that stuff. I think I don't see any world where Jokic is a forward. Like
right.
that doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm laying the debate out and then also planting my flag on one side. That's my word.
I love it. And for full transparency, Harry, I was going to go a similar direction. I have to switch gears now, but I totally agree with you. And I think there's also this huge debate about who's first team NBA, who's second team. Can you put Embiid and Jokic on there together? It's the positionless thing is the hot topic debate in the NBA this year. On that note, I hate to do this, but my word is going to be Lakers. It's going to be Lakers because
you're part of the problem.
I turn on First Take. They're talking about the Lakers. I turn on Undisputed. They're talking about the Lakers. I turn on NBA Today. They're talking about the Lakers. I'm so glad. Well, actually, it's not even close to over. We're probably going to talk about it throughout the playoffs too, the fact that they're not there. But I'm glad that it can at least start to be put to bed because all I've heard about this year, guys, is the Lakers. And yeah, did they have a disappointing year? Yes. Is it unbelievable that they didn't make the playoffs? Yes. But there was a lot of other really interesting stuff going on in the NBA this year. But all we talked about was the Lakers. And so I'm not even proud that this is my word of the year, but my word of the year is Lakers.
I was going to say, Dave, do you not understand the great irony in you choosing them? I mean, you're complaining about all these media outlets just talking about the Lakers when there's other things to be talking about, and now we are now talking about the Lakers because you bring them to the table. Why is it that you would do that? A true boycott of the Lakers or putting your flag in the ground would be us refusing to mention them at all. Yeah. But now you're raising the conversation by doing so, you're talking about them. It's like what D Book said. Like the headlines are the Lakers are eliminated from playoff contention. Why isn't the headline the Suns are, just set a franchise record for wins?
That's a very fair point. I'm nominating them for this award with like some disdain. I want this to be a mark on their record.
Fair enough. I guess I'll allow it. All right, so that's one of the new awards. I like that one. We have another one?
Oh yeah, we do. The next one is the best tweet of the year. Because there were some good ones being fired off. I'm a huge fan of the new wave of NBA players who are just ready to talk freely or speak their mind on Twitter. So we have some good candidates here, I believe, for best tweet of the year. I'm doing a terrible job at remembering order here. Who's leading this one off? Is it me?
I think it's Harry. Because I just did health and safety.
Right. Correct.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, my winner. This is a like a legacy award, or a cumulative award, but I do have one specific tweet. Paul Reed of the 76ers at bball_Paul is I think he is a cult favorite of Sixers fans and of like NBA Twitter heads, but he gets some of the greatest tweets off. Like, and the thing about him is he's found his own lane. Like he's not quote tweet dunking on people. He's not even like maybe making an interesting point about basketball. He's just getting like really fire original tweets off. And so with that being said, the one that I specifically nominated was, if you was looking for me and couldn't find me, I was in my bag. Which is this like sort of like a Emily Dickinson level of poetry there. Like I you can think about it for a long time, just kind of being like, damn, he's lost in his own bag. That's incredible. So that's my pick. Shout out to B-Ball Paul.
That's great. That's really good stuff.
I love that selection. That's a fantastic tweet. So Max Strus went to college with B-Ball Paul. So I've had the pleasure of hearing some kind of behind the scenes stories. But at some point during this year, Max actually showed me a clip of him. It was some interview segment, and he was asked, if you didn't play basketball, what would you do? And I think he said he would be an underwear model or something like that. It was some like ridiculous take. So he's definitely, he's had some great content. That's a great selection. Really brought that one out of left field. So thanks for that. Dave, what's yours?
In the spirit of calling out major media and speaking freely on Twitter, I don't think you can have this award this year without mentioning Kevin Durant, because he just speaks as freely as anyone, now on his own account, no longer on a burner. And so he came at Skip Bayless this year. Skip said something about like, the best player in the world, talking about Kevin Durant, just did something LeBron could never do. And it was, I don't know, Kevin Durant went for 50 or something. And KD just quote tweeted it, said, "I really don't like you, Skip." And that was it. Just left it at that. And I thought it was hilarious. And I'm all for players coming at media more often on Twitter. So I'm giving it to Kevin Durant.
I mean, Katie tends to be ruthless with the Twitter fingers. I'm going to actually go to Philly as well, but I'm not going to do the one that I think a lot of people are expecting. And it's almost disappointing that Embiid's haters funeral, showing up to my haters funeral, isn't going to get nominated, but I'm actually not going to do it. I'm going to go with a different Philly legend, and that's friend and two-time guest of the podcast, George Niang. And that's his Go Weekend Go weekly Friday posts. They exist on both Instagram and Twitter. And he somehow has managed to do it literally every single Friday, which at this point in the season, it's almost like it's just exhausting, but it's still kind of funny because he just continues to do it. And my favorite thing is seeing it on Instagram when like they'll have a loss or whatever, Philly will be having a tough stretch and he'll still post it on Friday, and everybody in the comments being like, "Now's not the time, George." And he just still keeps coming through with the Go Weekend Go. So that's my social media post of the year is Go Weekend Go by George Niang. Brought to you by Torch Pro, which is an awesome athlete content curating company based in the Northeast.
No free ads. We're not doing free ads.
By a couple of Northeast legends. This isn't an ad. This is just a promo for Torch Pro. Love what they're doing over there.
All right, fine. No, it's a good pick. You have to respect the consistency. I think there's no better way to because people are going to hate regardless on like the timing of the season. Like we know this, this better than anybody, Dunk. Like the timing of releasing content during a season is like, if things are going well, people love it. If things are going bad, you're going to get that. So, the fact that George just sticks to it every Friday, he's fired up for the weekend regardless. You have to respect it.
No, I do. Do we have any more?
Yes, the final award here. This one requires no nominees. This is an award we're just going to give out. And it is the longest shot of the year. So we have the long shot of the year, the guy who overcomes the odds. But this is just purely the guy who took the longest shot this year. Not took, but made. So actually, Harry, would you like to take the floor here?
Yes, sure. So this took probably the most amount of research. It's actually kind of hard to find who took the longest shot. And there might be a little bit of controversy. Maybe this is our slap moment, if you will, because by raw numbers, the longest shot from StatMuse is Bogdan Bogdanovic hit a 70-foot shot.
Whoa.
Along, like, a heave. I couldn't find the shot. I saw it on StatMuse, but I couldn't find the shot. So I tried. It's kind of hard to like search for a random third quarter buzzer beater, in an Atlanta Hawks game, but I have yet to be able to find it. Now, the challenger would be Devontae Graham set the NBA record for longest buzzer beater this year. And while that in raw length was shorter, it was a 61-foot shot, it was a game winner. And there is a video of it that I've actually seen. So I don't know. Do we leave this up to the audience? Does somebody try to find the Bogdan shot?
This is
what
tricky.
do you guys think?
This is tricky. I don't know. I mean, it's almost like in today's day and age, if it doesn't exist in clip form on the internet, did it really happen?
Right. That's my question. I haven't seen it. I
haven't seen it either.
Look, maybe this is our slap moment. I hope no Bogdanovich fans come at me, but I think we got to give it to Devontae Graham because we can confirm that one. Who knows? Right. This could have been a StatMuse typo for all we know.
Yeah.
And not to add a little bit more and to pile on StatMuse a little bit, but as I was searching, you search by shot distance and, whatever, there were like 150 of them. And I was very confused because I was like, there's no way, there's that many. And then I kind of dug into the numbers and probably 45% of them they would say this was like a 65-foot shot, but it was a 2-pointer. And so I was like, that doesn't exist. You can't, that shot that's not a real shot. So I kind of ran out of runway. I was like, well, I don't know what's going on here. Wow. But there are some integrity issues with the data.
I've heard enough. I'm going Devontae Graham.
Yeah, this is a full-fledged long shot awards conspiracy. I mean, what's happening here? I feel like we got to go Devontae Graham at this point.
Yeah, I agree. All
right.
Done. Long shot winner, or longest shot of the year winner, Devontae Graham.
Thank you very much, Harry, for doing the legwork on that and presenting both sides in a compelling argument for what we ultimately chose. So that basically wraps up the long shot awards. Do either of you have maybe a closing monologue that you want to get to, or no? Are we just going to put a bow on it?
Now, for the same reason that we didn't do an opening monologue in fear of getting slapped, I'm going to stay away from a closing one. But I do want to point out I had two more awards that I was thinking of, similar to the longest shot that had no competition. We were just going to give them out. One, Harry, this was Harry's idea, and I was a really big fan of it. So I did a little research. It was the Duncan Robinson most normally dressed person of the year. Just someone who doesn't really, step out too much with the pregame fits, just, prioritizes comfort. And I think that had to go to Jared Allen. The picture at All-Star Weekend of him in just the, classic pullover and sweatpants, just looking comfy. And we love that. We support that. The second award would be the Disproportionate Bicep Award. And that's just for someone who has arms that are way too big. And that would go to Desmond Bane. So those were the two other awards I was considering. Those would be hard to do every year. I think Desmond Bane would win that award as long as he played. But just two more for the people to consider.
Probably for the best that both of those got shelved this year. Maybe something we can revisit in the future. So that basically wraps it up for the 2022 Long Shot Awards. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for joining us. We certainly had a lot of fun doing it. And Harry, thank you for hopping on. Yes. I feel like that was a great value add to the nomination. So thank you for your time.
Appreciate it.
We're going to put these on social media, so it's now up to you guys to select the winners. I think we gave you some good thought-provoking options for each award. We'll see who wins, and we'll come back to hand out at these awards once we've selected our winners.
Love that. Can't wait. As always, thank you for tuning in, and catch us next week.